Hey, welcome back to AMT Machine Shop. We're here again, obviously, working on the R34, R35 swap. But I'm just gonna give you a little shop tour here. So I share this space. I got some good people in here that do custom minis and stuff. They've got their own YouTube channel, Steveston Motor Co. But let's just do a tour. You can check out the shop and let me know what you think. Don't mind the pile of R35 interior parts and whatnot. That'll all get cleaned up soon. So, got a massive lathe. I use this mostly for wheels, doing like hub bore rework, fixing lips and whatnot. My old trusty milling machine that I upgraded with a digital readout. 20-ton press, which comes in handy for all the bearing pressing out and whatnot. And my little lathe, which gets a workout. This thing has been pretty amazing. Some previous projects I got up here on the wall. That was Invicta. That was a fun one. I got my, don't mind the glare, that's my trike. I built that thing probably close to 12 years ago. It now lives in Qatar. Some posters. Here's a little mini VTEC swap that I did with a B16. That thing was a riot. And this was my old Mini. This thing had a ZX-10R motorbike engine in the back, and it blimmin' ripped. That thing was a beast. Storage, tire machines. We got 3D printers here because 3D printing's cool, and this is Steveston side, so they've got their minis here that they're working on. These are customer cars. This is a D-series swap, full custom everything on these things. And this will be another D-series swap. We've done K-series swaps as well in the past. Yeah, big workbench and little fridge and whatnot. I mean, it's not the biggest shop, but it's great. The light in here is amazing. The location's amazing. Can't complain. Anyway, here's the 34 and what we're doing on it today. So what I want to do is line up the fenders and get the hood mounted. So in order to do this, I've had to cut off the crash sensor mount that was on the side here because it'll interfere with the fender. So this here's the crash sensor mount, and I'm just gonna have to relocate it more inboard, which is not a big deal. I had to notch just here, just slightly, for clearance to the fender. This is what it looked like before the notch. So I lose one of the bolt holes, but I'm not too worried about that. It's not a big deal. These cars are overbuilt anyway. And that's the crash mount, so I gotta take that off. Let me just put the fender on real quick and you can have a peek at that. Let me get this camera here. There we go. All right, so fender's just sitting there. Obviously I gotta shimmy it up a little bit, but to get the idea, it sits right on top of the R35's plastic rad support. I got to do a couple little tabs to pick up the rear bolt hole, and got to do something to pick up the front bolt hole. Air filters are going to need to move because of the headlights, and this might have to be massaged a little bit. But I mean, it looks pretty sick. I'm really stoked with this. So we got wider over fenders coming for the front, and we got over fenders coming for the rear. But yeah, as you can see, that's going to be mental. That's where I am right now. I'm going to get working on the fenders and get these mounted up. We're back at it again, working on the 34. Currently working on the front end, trying to lining up the rod support and making the brackets for that. And then got to do a new power steering cooler mount, and the intercooler bracket, and a front support for the hood latch. So we got lights are in, all this stuff is pretty solid at the front now. I've made these little brackets here. So the front stock R34 rad support just bolts in place and can be removable. This here needs a couple brackets to bolt it up. This needs a bracket, so I'm going to go from the stubs of the frame rails, go from here up and then back down, and that's got to also clear the intercooler. Intercooler is here, so we got two obviously for the R35. Just made up this bracket, did a little bit of aluminum TIG on there, so it's connected, both sides are connected together now. And this also gives me a base to make a mount to the front of the 34, so it'll stay in place. And that's where we are right now. And then once that stuff on the front end is done, I can start peeling off the body panels, the front fenders and the hood, and possibly the doors, but I might not do the doors just yet. And then get started in on welding it all back together. So just been doing a little bit of work, got the front fenders on, made brackets for the hood, so the hood hinges are mounted, hood is on, and chopped up the R34's front radiator support because I needed it for the headlight brackets, and everything's looking good. All the body alignment is perfect, gaps are perfect. Here, just show you. Here's my door gap to the fender. You can tweak it a little bit, but no rubbage. Works good. The let me get a flashlight. I got all up in here. I got all up in there, welded the body up there. I got this made up this 3/16 steel plate, welded it in. That picks up the hinge mounts in the factory R34 location. Same on this side, so I'll weld it up in there. It's hard to see. Sorry about that, battery died, just changed it. So weld it all up in there, all up the side. Got this side's hinge mount all done. Got to tweak this body seam a little bit. It's pretty darn good. Door close is good. Rad support from the R34. Headlights are on. Rad support currently is just sitting on top of the frame rail, so I'm going to make a little bracket so I can bolt that on and off. And hood and factory hood prop. Let's just drop the hood. And head down. Tweak the gaps a bit, but that's easy. I just once I mount the rad support, I'll just have it moved over a touch, and that'll get our gaps good. So there's that, and here's a side shot. So done a little bit more tacking just to hold things in place better, but we are pretty much there. Still got to do a ton of welding and a ton of work on the front end to mount the bumper. I got to modify the windshield washer bottle, and the oil cooler sticks out a bit too far, but it might be okay with the wide body kit. So I'm not going to do anything with that until we get the wide body bumper here, and then I can make sure that it'll all fit up. There you go. So just finished up for today. Did a bit more work. I got the front rad support for the R34 in the car. Fenders are on, hood is on. Modified the R35 window wiper and motor assembly. Had to slightly tweak the mounting, but that is working, so the car will have window wipers. What else? And got the hood pop working. So here's a quick look. Mint gaps all the way around are on point. Headlights are in, bumpers off because we need the wide body bumpers to clear the washer bottle and the oil cooler. There's a shot of the window wipers, so they are on the car. And if we go in here, I will grab the popper and pop the hood. Hood's up, just look inside. So you got the R34 rad support, the R34 latch assembly. I've got the R34 latch cable connected. I have to make a bracket still down here for the rad support onto the frame rail snouts. I'm able to retain the complete R35 rad support assembly, so no modifications needed to that. Here's the motors for the window wiper. So this lower mount, I had to drop it down. It would have been higher up before, and I had to trim the metal under the glass. Pretty much I've got about a 1/4 inch of metal before the glass, and I had to take this mount off so I could get the wiper assembly in place, but it's in there, so that's awesome. And we got the R34's hood prop, so hood is fully functional, which is rad, and the lights are on. The aftermarket intakes went through the R35 rad support, and the filters were about here, which isn't going to work. So I'm going to have to do new intake tubes and get those filters moved to the front somehow. Figure that out when I get there. Got some grinding going on in the background, so I'll try to keep my voice a little higher so you can hear me. We've been doing work on the front. The intercooler is now mounted. The support brace for the hood is mounted, and the oil cooler for I believe it's the power steering cooler, is now mounted as well. So, couple little quick brackets here to mount the cooler, and that's not going anywhere. Then we got a 1/4 inch thick aluminum plate that's bolted into the end of the frame rails, bolted to the hood latch, and that thing's solid. It ain't going nowhere. The radiator or the intercoolers are all bolted together, and there's a little mount underneath here. There's bolted into the lower cross member and welded onto the intercooler. So that's all done. Hood shuts and latches. I've got 2 washers underneath the hinge mount here. I got to remove one because the hood sits slightly high, but that's no big deal. And then we got the plastic R35 cowl shrouds cut and fit. So those are here and they function, so you have access to your stuff. I got to make a trim piece that goes along the back down in here, because you don't want to get water and you don't really want to see it. It's kind of ugly. So just working on getting the hardest parts of the welding done, and the hardest part is the A-pillar here to the stock R35 cowl. So getting down inside here was fun. That was done actually before I got the window winder wiper motor in. I had to do a little filler plate here, but this is now completely welded to the A-pillar, so that is good. That means it's sealed also from the elements. I've painted where I could. I pre-painted a lot of stuff before the body went on, and then I've painted where I could. Here's the other side. I got a little bit of grinding to do just to clean it up a bit. Again, this side, little plate in there, but it's fully sealed, so no water ingress is going to be from there. And now I'm working on the scuttle panel to connect the R35 window frame to the R34 window frame, and that piece is here. So this is 0.04, oops, this is 0.040 or 048, I can't remember, sheet metal. That's going to go in there like so and get welded up in place. So let me just set this up here. As you can see, this fits pretty darn good. Just got to weld inside and outside. I'm going to do that with the TIG. I'm going to tack it in place with the MIG and then finish it with the TIG, and then that part will be done. So I'm back, been working on a couple different things today. Got this Subaru in here today. Just did a quick, it's got an external wastegate, so I had to do a wastegate dump pipe that was routed back into the exhaust. So did that today for another client. Let me just get this up in the air. Should be high enough for us to duck underneath. All right, so they got their wastegate up in there. Hard to see, but there it is, up in there. And then just made this little dump pipe, comes down, flex joint, and then just welded back into the exhaust. So nothing special, just a little quick, easy job there. And then on the 3435 project, I have got the window cowls welded together. So this is what it looks like now. So metal plate, fully seam welded on this side and fully seam welded along the front. Painted it. The car is going to be a gray color, so I had some nice gray paint, so I just went ahead and gave it a lick of gray. I wrapped this part in some nice vinyl which matches the dash. So if you go over here, you can see the imprints on the dash match up to this, so that's good. And then when the dash goes in, the dash line is right here, so the dash will butt up against there. And when the glass is in, you see this. That's why this is being covered in fabric, so when you look in the window, it'll look OEM. So that's done, that's all welded. Got the tricky spots in here are all welded. And then I'm just starting on welding the seams at the A-pillar. Well, I guess it's not the A-pillar, but the door bar. Got a little filler panel here. That's gonna get welded on there. Then I gotta cut this on an angle like that as well, and then do another filler panel down there. I've been working on welding up the car. Just show you what we've got going on here. So being up here in the front, this is all welded in, all the way down, all down there. New plate here, welded down there, all the way underneath. Then all up in here, it's all welded. Other side's the same. All welded up all throughout, all inside, all up in there. That's all fully seam welded. Probably still give it a coat of seam sealer, but get to that when we get to that. And then on the inside, so driver's side rocker, we're all fully seam welded along the top here, and I did some stitching on that lower part, so that's all done. And I got up to here, I still got to do the back, and then let me raise the car up a bit and I'll show you the lower part of the rocker. I haven't done the passenger side, or I'm just getting started on the passenger side now, but wanted to button up the driver's side first. All right, car's in the air. So I've gone all up in here. I had to cut this section out, and now I've know where everything sits. I re-trimmed this part and welded it in. There'll be some other stuff here, and the side skirt will cover that. Then I've done some stitching along here, and we'll throw some seam sealer on that. I don't think this part will need to be fully welded like the inside is. I think the inside part being fully welded and the lower part being stitched is more than adequate. That's where we're sitting right now. Let me get the sun in my face so you can see me. There you go. Yeah, so tomorrow I'm going to work on the passenger side and get the passenger side rocker sorted, and then it's on to the back. So getting there, good progress.